Call this meeting of Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. To those on the phone, this is going to be a special meeting of the court. We will take actions. There are an agenda published with both consent agenda items and general business items. So that's a little unusual for us on Fridays, but due to the holiday on Monday and the State County Judges and Commissioners Conference takes place the rest of that week, we will not have a meeting. Our next meeting will be Monday, October the 18th. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask if it's 10:05. I'd like to ask if there's any public comment to be made by anyone here or on the phone.
Judge, I would like to say that last night Campfire had their fall festival in the park at Harold Park, and Bob Hampton and I made s'mores, and it about killed us. The line was incredibly long, and I noticed that when I looked around, you know, I'm a very young board member, and I'd encourage anyone that's interested in helping. Great organization, and to get involved, and we certainly need younger, more vigorous board members. So if you have any interest at all of wanting to participate, we had over 300 kids last night and parents, so we had a full blown park party. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Bob's probably wore out this morning.
Just to emphasize how critical, at your age, you are one of the younger board members. All right. And we thank you for serving as president of that very worthy organization. Anything else? All right, it's 10:06, and while we'll close that portion of public comments, I'd ask the Commissioners Court to look at and take action upon the consent agenda. Let me just say on item number 4, those salaries will be, that addition will be paid out over the rest of this year for those personnel. So that does get divided by the number of pay periods in there. And then beginning January 1st, the budgeted approved amounts are in for the rest of the year for 2022.
Clarification on item 6.
Yes, sir.
On the change order from Harper Perkins, that is a credit of $64,160 for unused contingencies.
Okay.
It's not in addition to the contract.
Right.
That's a credit.
It's the kind we'd like to see,
Yeah.
but rarely do.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the consent agenda?
Judge, just clarification on the number 3, talking about the construction. I would assume that that's referring to things that are in the floodplain.
Yes, I believe so. I don't know if it's going on there, but that's what I understand.
Well, I was concerned because if we lay that out as a standard, we're really not in a position to handle all that if it's on every parcel in the county. Now, the floodplain's a different thing. I assume that's what we were.
But it's an amendment to the floodplain ordinance.
Floodplain order, that's
Y'all
what.
previously adopted, you wanted to make that.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure, because if we adopted that and we were gonna look at every parcel, we don't have the, we don't have the ability to do that right now. So maybe sometime in the future, that clears it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, could I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion, so moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Waller, second by Commissioner Beecham. Anyone have anything to say on these items before we vote on it? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, item number 1 on business is discuss, consider, take action to approve the regular bills for payment, order the county treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours unless otherwise directed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions by anyone? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 2 is discuss, consider, take action to award the bid on the LEC video system. That's Commissioner Beecham, who just left side.
He went to grab those, I think.
Oh, okay.
George, have you looked at any of those, or did y'all discuss this video?
Cody's been working with me on that. Did not have my packet on that this morning. We only had one bid, and I believe everybody's in agreement that it meets all our qualifications, so it'd be my motion to accept the proposal by SKC Communications. And let me find out.
And this is all compatible stuff with what we operate and utilize and do?
Well, it's all specialized for that one room.
And what kind of money are we talking about?
That's, I'm trying to get there.
I was kind of afraid to ask, but
I didn't get prepared this morning because we had a meeting before this meeting, so.
And like all short meetings, it lasts as long as.
It did, yeah. So, forgive me for my unpreparedness this morning. 66,163.65.
To be paid out of LEC
That could
funds?
be paid for out of LEC funds. This was all part of the original budget for the LEC.
Commissioner, can you repeat the motion?
66,163.65.
Any comments by anyone or questions on that? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, I need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. Item 3 is receive a briefing from, and just say before we do that, can you all look at, Corey, are you gonna stay for the whole meeting, or you're here for payroll, or? Okay, well, I won't worry about rushing that one up. I'll just try to be respectful of your all's time. Receive a briefing from Information Technology Director and other department personnel regarding Tyler Odyssey and the upcoming move to Amazon Web Services hosting for Odyssey implementation. George, be sure you clarify, this does not make it easier for our personnel to order off Amazon, right? Okay. Somebody asked me about that. Whether that was gonna give us a streamlined way to do that. I told them I didn't think so.
Easier to order on Microsoft.
Oh, my God.
This is,
motion to decline.
Okay.
as y'all know, we're hosted at Tyler site in Dallas currently. I believe it's the old federal
Reserve building.
reserve building, thank you. And to get in compliance with CGIS, which is becoming a rather hotter topic than it already has been, they're moving us to be hosted in AWS Amazon Web Services hosting facility, which is CGIS compliant. Sam, Mesa, and Mr. Bradley are going to discuss that with y'all. These are pretty much hard dates. These are not necessarily set in stone, but the concrete is drying very quickly, and that's something that we have to do. So.
Yeah.
There's 3 phases to this project, and I broke it down to action items for us, for county, for the commissioners during those 3 phases. And in order to have a successful project, we'll need everyone to contribute to those action items.
You need us to actually approve these dates go forward. That's part of the agreement, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't necessarily need you to approve the dates, but we wanted to brief the court because in the coming weeks, there's going to be action items that other departments across the county are going to have to complete. And
When we had our kickoff meeting, those are set dates that Tyler gave to us to kind of follow along for the go live of this implementation.
Okay.
And Cody or Sam, why is the migration can be accomplished like this when migrating information, and I know there, we have unclean information that came into our system, but our migration took a very long time. Is this just because now the information within our system is cleaned and it moves over or transitions quickly?
Well, that was a data conversion, not a data migration.
Oh, okay,
So this is information that's already out there, yes, sir, in the system that we have today, that'll be copied over to AWS.
And just to kind of make it clear, there's no change in process. We're not coming and saying, we're not reteaching these people or relearning. We just want to go back and make sure that everything that they do on a day-to-day basis is still going to work.
okay,
This is a big migration, they're going to be rebuilding this structure on a different, whole other platform.
right,
So we want to build out, make sure we have all the steps, kind of like a checklist,
right.
that they can go through. Not so much have to hold their hand, just kind of be there just to help make sure that those processes work. And they check off and say, yes, when we get migrated over on this, our day-to-day processes should not be impacted by it.
It's a huge transfer of data, moving over to new hardware, new subsystems, so that's why all the checks along the way, we'll make sure that everything came across as it should have and works as we expect it to. So that's-
And we're not the first organization to make this migration from
No, sir.
what we're in now at the sandboxes that where we are, or does somebody else had sandboxes that we were in?
That was time clock, Judge.
Along with Keith Letter and Jess, okay. At any rate, this should be fairly, and God, it's hard to say that word routine, but we're not going into totally new territory. We're going into something that has been done before, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Been done successfully before. It's just, like I say, it's a big project. It involves a lot of data, a lot of moving parts, and
Yeah.
that's why it's set out, laid out the way it is, and why we need the test and evaluation and confirmation from all the offices involved that their data's there, their processes are working correctly.
So if I'm following this right, then we'll have a period of time that you can look at both what we're doing now and this are both be available, this to look at, be sure what I had here is over here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long is that period of time?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
So, and so to clarify, as I said, the daily processes will not change.
Right.
The purpose of the testing is to make sure everything works as it had before.
Okay.
Loading a case is fine, taking a payment, because there should be no hiccups, but to ensure that before we do the final migration, that's what the 2 weeks is, and that's why we're asking the departments to kind of check that and make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
we will have a central location on the tech room on the 4th floor, and they'll come in during those 2 weeks, complete the checklist that Mr. Revere is making for them, and we can,
Yeah, one of us will be up there at all times, to work with them
Okay.
and make sure.
and then on the switchover day, there will be a period of time that we will be dark as they shut down our current system and bring up the new system. And we'll have to operate on paper for that short amount of time.
How long is that short amount of time?
They had estimated 4 hours.
Oh, okay, that long. I'm teasing you.
They've estimated that long, Jim.
But it could be shorter and obviously it could be longer depending on what we run into. But if everybody will do their work during that 2 weeks, then,
Should be a smooth transition.
does Tyler, how do we get a glitch we see here and one of y'all are there? Is somebody on Tyler kind of dedicated to working us through during that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the responses should be fairly quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a constant line of communication. When something comes up, we send it straight to them and they respond back to us.
They ask as soon as we encounter it to immediately submit it to them.
Okay. are we setting up scheduling for those departments to get in with you all? And they're gonna have an hour, 2 hours dedicated to an office coming in there during that time, or?
Yes, and one of the things too is originally Tyler had given us a week for this. We kind of went back to him and said, no, we really gonna go for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we need 2 weeks, because there's also other things that are gonna be impacted, such as outside agencies, links, websites, that we really wanna make sure that when this moves over, I mean, all those links and things are gonna change. We wanna make sure everyone else knows that, we wanna make sure that's getting pushed out to the people, you know, that they're aware of this. And of course, gives us, our offices, more time, you know, to maybe have someone go up there and work through some processes. So yes, we will have set time scheduled, but then again, you know, if they have, we're willing to work with offices, and if they have to come up or send someone up there just to work on it, we're fine with that too.
Okay. Okay, because the tendency's on, everybody's gonna wanna put it off to the last Thursday and Friday, so. Okay. All right, any other questions for him? Okay, do you want us to take action to approve this document, Cody, that that's court policy, does that need to be done, or? It's up to you.
Well, it's on your just received everything.
Oh, that's right, it is, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Right.
Judge,
Yes,
before
sir.
we move on, just one, I just wanted to see if the IT would comment to us as far as 0 to 100% up and running Odyssey-wise. Where are we at? Just your gut feel, Vanessa and Sam, I know you deal with it. Do we have some holes that keep us from being, are we over 90% what we would, so we're getting the bugs out in the top layer of,
Yeah, and I would say 95%, if not more, in terms of functionality. Now, there's a term a lot of software people use called scope creep, that's kind of used across the line, where it never seems like we're gonna get to the finish line.
right,
You know, there's always something
Yeah.
this, something where we're going. Now, there's room for improvement, and that's what we're always striving for. But in terms of day-to-day process, I would say there's definitely some processes that are running slower than what they should, and we need to work on those, but it's still functional. You know, we're not at a hard stop where things are just,
right. I hear nothing any longer. I mean, I'm just not, so I'm assuming that people are, you know, have gotten through difficulties with it, and it's up and moving as it should.
and our users have worked very hard to embrace things, to work through things, you know, to get through it. So I definitely, kudos to all that, all the hard work they put into it. And I feel like we are getting to a point now that we're looking for those improvements. You know, we're looking just to help stabilize some things and then just try to make better processes
Mhm.
instead of trying to scramble, you know, how to go live.
Okay. Good, thank y'all.
Okay. And let's go on to item 4, which is receive the briefing from Information Technology Director and other department personnel about the Duo two-factor authentication testing that Mr. Andrew Henderson has been conducting. Ms. Crutchfield?
Yes, sir, this is another level of possible security. That's, you know, security is a huge thing, probably only going to get bigger. And Andrew's been doing some testing with two-factor authentication. Duo is a Cisco product, and how it could integrate into our environment, and whether or not it's even, you know, eventually it's going to be required to integrate into our environment, I imagine, the way that they're starting to treat sieges, stuff like it's top secret compartmented information.
But you know, as we look at that, one of the things covered under ARPA is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at something, we ought to, money isn't gonna be particularly our problem.
Okay, cool.
I think, I mean, there are some limits after 25 million, George, we're gonna have a problem, but.
Okay, well, I'll turn it over to Andrew, and
All right.
he's gonna go through it right quick. Got a small, video for y'all, just a couple minutes, and, then a PowerPoint presentation.
All right, very good.
Good morning,
Morning, sir.
Commissioners. This is a small video, is going to explain basically what is two-factor authentication, what is do. Then I'm going to give a short presentation as to what it is.
All right, thank you. Is the sound button? See the,
Lights on.
Power's
There
Yeah,
it
we
is.
got it.
Passwords are everywhere. We use them to access our money, our communications, even our social life. One password for everything. But that wasn't good enough, so we started making our passwords even more complicated and began using password managers to organize the dozens or hundreds of the unique passwords we use. But no matter how complex our password system was, it was never enough to prevent account takeover. Because all it took was one phishing email or database exploit, and your password was out in the world. So, if passwords are impossible to protect on their own, what do? That's where two-factor authentication comes in. Two-factor authentication, or 2FA, adds a second method of identity verification to secure your accounts. First, the thing you know, your password. Then, something unique that you have, like your phone or fingerprint. By combining your password with one of these factors, attackers can't access your account even if they have your password. The most common 2FA systems use a unique one-time code with every login attempt. This code is tied to your account and generated by a token, smartphone, or sent to you by text message. The more modern and most secure form of 2FA uses a mobile app to send an approval notification to your smartphone or smartwatch for the least hassle possible. With 95% of breaches involving account takeover, two-factor authentication is the most effective method of prevention. It's time for everybody, businesses, governments, and you, to take the easy and effective step of enabling two-factor authentication on all accounts. If it uses a password, it needs to use two-factor authentication.
Okay. Zero two-factor authentication, it's one of the leading authentication technologies that's out there in order to protect against cybersecurity and similar threats. As technology evolves, cyber criminals are more sophisticated, organized, determined, and ever. With constant changes in the workplace, how can we safeguard our PCs, printers, and people from
Your power may be low, Andrew. And there may be a plug there.
Well, if we just had an IT person in here.
Well, Andrew, I've got a question for you, just so I understand. And I had talked a while back, Tracy, concerning this. She gets notification that she needs to change her password. I've never received notification that I need to change my password, or update my password, or renew my password. And what's the difference within our system that, you know, I mean, it's a great ideal to do it, and she's a different level user than me because she is, has different information, or able to,
You know, you're never gonna
I
change,
get
I
one more
got
often
one
than I
yesterday.
like.
no, I've never
I'm
received.
thinking like every 6 months.
Yeah, A little more often than that, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
See, until just the very first part of the year, George requested everyone to change their passwords, and I did, but up until that time, I'd had the same password since the day I came in here. And it never asked me to do anything different, or...
My computer shuts down if you don't.
Yeah.
The
upgrade
difference
it.
between these tools and technology, the one that's prompting you, supposed to prompt you, is supposed to be controlled by group policy. That's what is on the network. By Active Directory, there's a sync, and there's a group policy on the network which is supposed to control. And we basically set it to a limited time frame, whether it be 90 days or 60 days period where you're supposed to be prompted once you log into the network. And otherwise, after 1 or 2 attempts, you're locked out and you're forced to change your password. As to why you never got prompted before, I'm not sure. That's got to be investigated. Yes. But in this case, this technology works differently. It works as a secondary measure as well. You're going to still use your password to log onto the network, but you're going to also be prompted with another password, whether you want it as a call. You can receive a phone call, a text, or push by your phone, and you authenticate, you accept, and then you're able to access the system at that point.
It was always amazing to me that you see these movies where people are hacking into these high-level, sophisticated accounts, and they're sitting there doing this for about 3 seconds and they're in, and I can't even open my own. I never have been able to figure that out.
You need to hire one of them.
You probably do.
This presentation is going to address exactly that. As you can see right now, just as a demonstration, I'm logging back into my system. After putting my password in, it's prompting me for the code. So I could either have it send me a push notification, you could call me, or send me a password I'm going to enter. In this case, I opted for a push, so I'm going to just press approve, and I'm going to log into the system right away.
Which is real handy if you have your other device with you. I've been in a situation where you didn't have it, you're out, you're done.
But in that case, you're able, if you have access to a phone system, or you can make a call to Duo, and there's different ways of authenticating, and be able to get you for your system as well, without having your second authentication method.
But if you don't have your phone, you don't have a phone.
Or it's dead. It's dead. That was the problem I was in. I was out in the country and trying to log into some, phone was dead, didn't have a charger, and it's a little inconvenient, but. Can you have one of those motorcycles? Will that work? I could probably keep up with that.
I want to see that.
Margaret, you're not. No. There's not enough casts in Wichita County for you to have one.
What about biometrics, Andrew? Does that allow that second level, so if
Yes,
it
sir.
came in?
Yes.
And then, because I'm thinking, all of a sudden, are we now requiring every person using a county computer to have a second device that they could be?
Yes.
Don't think.
The newer versions of the Duo are using biotechnology, biometrics,
Okay.
to authenticate. As well, you can get message on your smartphone as well, from your tablet as well. So if you're on your smartphone, you can authenticate with your smartphone as well.
Well, but I'm thinking the issue of requiring an employee to have a smartphone to do that maybe have some problems to it.
Well, and is there, or have you been told about any difficulties? I just remember the time on Chronos in a time clock solution that's very sophisticated. A lot of times having trouble identifying a recognition or a print or a facial, but I'm sure that's improved greatly since in the last 15 years. But
Yes.
Judge, are you talking about like a finger touch on a phone?
Finger touch, facial, my phone right now is facial.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the place I put a thumbprint, which I had on my previous one.
That's what, my Mac does that at home. I just do a fingerprint.
Yeah.
And so far as simplicity, we had, when we were first testing it, some folks, were prompted for a duo and they, signed themselves up, unbeknownst to us, and walked right through it with, with no problem at all.
Okay.
And
Well, I got a prompt
set
this
themselves
morning,
up
George.
with two-factor authentication during the, while we were testing it, so fairly simple product to use, fairly easy to use. There's also tokens, for those users without smart devices. We were thinking about, in the jail, they don't allow cell phones in the jail, so there's gonna have to be another method if it, if it comes to that.
So what's a token?
So,
It's a small device, like 2-3 inches long, and all it does is it generates a number for you, a code, every 5 seconds, based on how you configure it. So you're going to use that code to enter your system or any protected data. Yes. You can receive that code on your phone as well. So, I'm going to continue now. So as I was saying earlier on, technology has evolved. Cyber criminals are more sophisticated, they are organized and determined than ever. With constant changes in the workplace, how can we safeguard our printers, our PCs and people from certain cyber predators? Two-factor authentication doubles up on security by protecting our applications and environment. It's the simplest, most effective way to verify our users are who they say they are. Complexity works against good security. Simplicity. Two-factor authentication is a way of validating your identity online, ensuring that, as you said before, that you are who you say that you really are. So by doing this, there is a combination of something that you own, that you know, which is your password, and something that you have, like your mobile phone. It could be a smartphone in the future. There's other such devices. When logged into Duo protected application, you will still enter your username and password. Then you will be required to verify your identity. Duo offers several easy-to-use methods for two-factor authentication, including Duo push, passcode, text, and phone call. These right here are some of the more familiar and modern authentication methods. Receiving a phone call, the tokens are right there, biometrics, smartphone wearables, and push notifications and soft token as well, which is being, you get a code on your phone, which is soft token. New threats and risks. In the increasingly cloud, mobile, and voice-enabled world, new threats have evolved to gain access to sensitive data. Attackers now target outdated devices with known vulnerabilities and stolen credentials. 63% of ransomware and attacks, cybercriminal attacks, emerge from these two areas, from devices with known vulnerabilities and stolen credentials. What is trusted access? It's basically a verified user with a secure device. Duo also monitors the device that we are using to connect to the system, and it monitors whether we have any malware, if our OS is outdated, anything that may cause an issue in the future for security, and we are prompted with such. Now, we are not only going to protect the users, but we're going to protect the network as well with Duo, the devices installed on the network, and the apps which are installed on the devices. Verifying the device means what? We, from the management point of view, we're going to receive notification, for example, this one, which says we have 148 devices out of plugins. Operating system could be outdated, your browsers, Java, and Flash plugins. Believe it or not, these are routes individuals use to attack systems and ransomware and all of that stuff. As I said before, 63% of data breaches relies on stolen, weak, or default credentials. Two-factor authentication can prevent intrusion initiated by stolen credentials. All vulnerabilities still work, targeting outdated software, versions still run on company devices. Endpoint visibility and remediation can mitigate this risk. As I said before, out-of-date browsers is one of those. This, for example, of IE7 up to IE11 and Edge. And if they're not patched and updated and maintained, these could be a route for attacks as well on our network. Now, internal trust factor. Users generally don't want to install something on the device because they're concerned about either both giving up control or privacy issues. In responding to this, what Duo does, Duo doesn't require an agent. It's not gathering any additional information beyond the developer's permission. Meaning, it requires the same permission as any other app on your phone, whether it be Facebook, Instagram. So the same permission set that those other apps uses, that's what Duo uses. It does not ask for anything else. It doesn't save any of your information, your photos, your geographical location, none of that. Just use the QR scanner, sometimes to scan, for example, for the biometrics, and to authenticate the user when we sign up, and that's it. All Duo does is let us know whether that device is secure enough, healthy enough for us to allow access to protected data. Thank you. That's all. Any
Well,
questions?
Why, what do you call that little scan code? That
QR?
QR code.
QR code. There's, when you log in to your system with your password, then what will occur on your computer for that second transaction to?
It gives you access, that's all. The QR code is at the sign up for the biometrics. When you sign up, you set up the account. You're gonna scan, you're gonna get a QR code, you're gonna scan it, so that completes the registration, and then that's it. You don't have to scan the QR code every time. It's a one-time process, and it's only for certain.
Oh, it's just for setup?
Yes, and that's for the biometrics. The others don't have a QR code.
Okay. And how quick and smoothly can we implement such a process?
Such a process can be implemented very smoothly within a small time frame. And it doesn't have to be implemented with all of our users. We can target a specific group of users that access specific sensitive data that we want to protect. And within a week or 2 weeks, it can be implemented, or even sooner than that.
Well, what's the cost?
It's $6 per user per month. What we looked at initially was those people that have mobile devices and connect via VPN a lot. And right now they're logging in through VPN with their domain credentials, and having Duo to further authenticate that, we think would be a good idea. So that was going to be our recommendation if y'all want us to move forward on this. This is really just a briefing to show y'all the technology and get a feel for what y'all think about it.
So what is our user count roughly? Our computer user count?
People with mobile devices, laptops, tablets, things like that, we're sitting at about 150 to probably 185. I don't have an exact count, but that's close.
So it's, right now, everybody in the mix, it would be $1,000 a month process for us if we put everyone on it?
I'm not that good at math.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
$900.
That's $6 per user. If you had like 100 people, that's like 600. Yeah, so double that amount. So it's gonna be less than 1,000 basically amount if at least 100 users per average. Yes, absolutely.
So per user device or per unique user? Per user. So if a user has a cell phone and a laptop, it's just one user fee.
Is there anything you can buy that you install that we run our own dual factor? In other words, we would have the software, when you go into it, we're gonna pay them a monthly licensing fee to do something. I was just wondering if our...
Well, that's basically what this is, Judge. We're paying them a license.
Right. I was just curious if there was anything out there on the market similar that you paid a one-time fee and maybe a maintenance fee, but not not $1,000 a month or more for that.
We can certainly research that.
Well, I'm just wondering, and,
I don't know whether there is or not. And of course, it's, anything that would be like that, would have to be FIT certified, to meet CJIS,
yeah,
all that good stuff.
yeah, so that may be
That may be the kicker.
yeah.
But, you know, the number one email I get, and you would think, we all get so much truck and equipment and things, but the number one thing I get is, you know, about safety on our system. It worries me because I see it all the time and read the first comments of them, and it scares you, you know, that everybody's out to get you, and it's just getting...
Well, phishing attacks are pretty easy to fall for because they look authentic.
And this prevents against that, because if your password is stolen, an attacker has to authenticate a secondary method in order to get
Yeah.
access to the system.
Yeah.
He cannot gain access.
Right.
Well,
Thank you all very much.
Are our devices, the laptops or desktops, are they set up to where we would be able to handle biometric if that was the deal we went to?
Most of the laptops that we have a thumbprint,
Yeah.
fingerprint reader built in,
Yeah,
and the Surface devices, I believe, will do facial recognition. So, yes, sir.
okay.
And the phone as well.
People who have either a county smartphone or personal that they use, you know, they would have that option, but I want to be sure that we can take care of it without having that requirement.
Yes, sir.
But I would think it's worth looking into,
yeah.
especially if, you know, whether there's any discount for advance payment if we paid for, on the ARPA money, we can use that up to 4 years if we have the money committed. So,
But I don't know if or how we're insured for cyber threats or things like that. A lot of other counties and municipalities pay big bucks to get their data back. But it does factor into your insurance costs if you have these products like this in place.
we have coverage, limited coverage through Texas Association of Counties. They are working on a revision to that coverage, so whether it becomes then a specific rider or additional policy. But yeah, there's been some small counties they've gotten into, so, yeah, it's,
I mean, the threat's out there and the threat's real.
yeah, so,
Again, thank you.
all right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is discuss, consider, and take action regarding Wichita Falls Inland Heights, PLLS, due to incorrectly reported net bill by Judge Gossen, $1450.88, which should have been $1743.50, and possibly offer a revised amount. What I did in my worksheet, I wasn't paying attention, I subtracted the money we would have paid for it as Medicaid. And so that money shouldn't have been there on that. And so what we could do, we could either leave what we agreed to pay them, or we could jump up and take in that other amount and pay half of it, therefore leaving them to take half of it.
So it'd be half of 1243.50. So it's the 1743.50 minus the 500. that
Minus
was-
the 500, yes, sir.
Which would be, like Mark said, 6-something.
620.
No, 1243.50, divide that by 2.
I mean, and y'all were right, I just hated sliding someone that had, but I guess the insurance companies do that on a regular basis as far as a doctor performing a
Yes.
function for 900 and the insurance company saying we're only gonna give 6, so he just makes the,
It's common practice. would make the motion to amend to half the amount of 1743.50, which,
Well, no, half of,
or, I mean, half of the,
Well,
1243.50, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
let's-
1243.50, I'm sorry.
Second.
$621.75.
okay, we got the same number.
Good with calculators.
Should we run that by the auditor before we?
Well, the auditor will run us by it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, any other comments by anyone on that? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item number 6, discuss, consider, or take action to approve one of the 3 quotes for replacement of the HVAC units for the juvenile detention center control room to be paid from permanent improvement fund. Mr. Beecham, is that you or?
Yeah, it is me, I guess. Yeah, we have 3 quotes, one from Ferguson for $66.27, one from James Lane for $76.59, one from Trinity for $58.75 with a potential add of $620 for low ambient, and I'm not exactly sure
That would still
what
leave
that
them as the
entails.
lowest bidder.
It would still leave Trinity as the low bidder. So
Is that your
that would be
recommendation?
my recommendation to go
I'll
with
second the
Trinity.
motion.
Thank you. Any comments, Mr. Wolf, anything? Or-
Oh,
Oh, you just
he
moved.
was here.
Okay. Anyone on the phone call in? Okay. Sir?
Well, I had a question on the center, juvenile center, but I can do it after you vote there, just concerning
So, do we-
maintenance.
Okay. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to accept the bid of $58.75 plus a $600 contingency for.
620.
620. Thank you. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
We got to the far end of the building out against, what is the street, cross street when you walk out of the courthouse here?
Lamar.
Lamar?
Lamar. So when we got to the far end of a juvenile and the flower beds, all of that flower bed, half of it, their shrubs are gone there, and they planted some new things, and I don't know at what time, but they're coming. And as Luis, he wanted me to come over there, called me to come look, but all of that is high. The whole bed is higher than the sidewalk. And I went and talked to Eddie. Kurt was gone when I went over there, and I didn't know exactly why, because any water that gets it just washes onto the sidewalk there. And I didn't know if that was caused when we leveled that out, or should I take
On the
that down?
Lamar side?
It's on the Lamar side, on the far end of the building. So the shrubs are all regular, half of the building.
Yeah.
But then you run out of much of any kind of growth down there, and that's where the bed gets high.
That's where we did the foundation work.
Foundation work.
Is that what it
a couple years ago?
Actually, that's when they, instead of taking that dirt away, they just left it there in the flower bed.
So there's nothing wrong with making it be the way it should be.
As long as it grades away from the building.
Yeah.
You don't want it grading back toward the
Toward the
building, or
building,
you'll
no.
get you'll have a water problem.
And you don't think, I was asking Eddie about that, and he said, well, he didn't know of any trouble because that had crossed my mind. He said the trouble
It's not
was
a basement,
internal
so, yeah,
plumbing.
not a
Yeah,
basement.
you've got a flower bed all along. I mean, water goes down, the shrubs help absorb it, but why don't we get that with what maintenance handle?
Because there's a flower bed over there that needs the dirt right outside the front door.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the dirt's gone, and most of it, and I may have a broken waterer in it, but the level of dirt is only half full. It's a standalone flower bed, you know the one I'm talking about, Judge? That's right there. And it's just like vacant of a lot of its dirt. And so I didn't know I was going to put it there if it needed to be, but whatever
Okay.
we need
That
to do.
really ought to be a different discussion period.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, item number 8 is discussing review jail maintenance projects and work orders. Chief?
Nothing really major this week other than the Muffin Monster had the grinder, took another blanket, so had to keep that out. And, our maintenance guy's gonna work with Ricky next week to
Clean
clean
the
the outside
coils.
coils and RTUs, get them clean, start to collect some dust and stuff.
I talked to Rick yesterday about going ahead and purchasing a pressure washer for that, and put it on LEC funds.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a continuous maintenance need for out there. So the pressure washer and 300 foot of hose.
So that was about all we had on maintenance.
Well,
Just other than-
Will, would you check on something for me? And I don't know what's happening, but I just noticed the discoloration on the entrance to the dock. We're putting something in that dumpster.
Over here,
Yeah, that's tracking, like when the front load picks up that box, he's either, and more than likely, there's rough bottoms in those dumpsters and they're not watertight or anything, so something's leaching and it's tracking out of that dock onto 6th Street there, and it could easily be grease or whatever there may be, I don't know, it just, all of a sudden, it's turned dark and looks, you know, you can notice it. And
okay.
I don't know what it might be, or maybe they just did a cleanup and takes a little.
Periodically, they would power wash all that out there, and may just be time to do that.
Okay.
Too.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Item 8, receive status report on salaries and overtime. You're all going to furnish those sheets from the auditor's office. Any questions for the
Well, numbers are staying pretty steady, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Does that change when we have a seasonal change?
No, we just, our population just has kind of leveled out about where we're at now for the last 3 or 4 months.
I mean, it's ranging in about 10, you know, I mean, it's pretty,
Yeah. They will go up because we're fixing to have a jail school.
oh,
Think about the overtime hours.
Yeah, the overtime
yeah,
hours will
overtime.
go
Well,
up.
I'm just looking at population.
Population, I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
That population tells you a lot about what your costs are.
We're staying around 470
Uh.
on the daily population.
Are we still utilizing some deputies from time to time?
Yes, we are. We have to.
Any other comments or questions on payroll?
No.
All right, if there's no other comments, wish everyone being here this morning. And, first time we ever had a Friday special regular meeting.
special regular.
Yeah. So, it is 10:59 and we're adjourned.
week, Jeff. There's my view for next week.
Oh, man.
Except there'll be a lot more big old boats.
I was gonna say before Andrew got out of here, every time